This is undoubtedly one of the toughest announcements that I've ever personally had to make. But after the accident in turn 4 at the end of the Daytona 500, we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
We're going to do what Dale would want us to do, and that's race this week. We're going to run Kevin Harvick in a number 29 white Goodwrench car.
To put Kevin Harvick in that car, I called Bobby Hutchins and said, have Kevin at the shop tonight. We're going to go to Rockingham, we're going to race. I want to put Kevin in the car.
I don't remember the exact day, and it was late. Kevin got a call to come to the shop for a meeting. And he came back and he goes, I'm going to run the 29 car.
We had just lost our hero, so he was the obvious person to put into the car, especially with his talent. And you know, just knowing the pressure that was going to put on him.
None of us knew we were going to lose Dale, and all of a sudden it was dumped on him at his age, and to carry the load and the fans and the emotion.
Are you ready for this race?
You know, more than anything, there were, I think, 400 employees at the company, and he just didn't want to let anybody down, and that was a lot for him to sort of try to internalize.
Me and him both were going through that season dealing with a lot of things that we really didn't want to have to deal with in our lives. He was having to go to every racetrack and see the same things I was seeing the tributes to Dad painted on the apron, and which were, in hindsight, were good now, but going through it in the moment, you know, I can't imagine this was a very favorable experience for Kevin.
When we knew that RCR was coming back to the racetrack, who's going to drive the car, and I think Kevin was a good choice, an obvious choice, but of course then there's still the, all right, well, let's see what this guy's capable of, and is this the right guy for the job, and big shoes to fill, and certainly a lot of pressure, and not a situation I think any driver necessarily wants to put themselves into, but at the same time, it's an opportunity that you've been given.
He's getting to drive a great race car. He's getting this opportunity of a lifetime, but I bet he didn't dream it would come this way. And so he was having to sort of share this dream becoming a reality with the tragedy, and the team is dealing with and processing that loss. The team members that he's with are all going through that as well.
Obviously, when something like that happens and tragedy hits, everyone's reeling. No one knows what to do. Everyone wants comfort and trying to find a sense of normalcy. So Kevin just said, I'm doing this, and I'm going to do it as best I can. He goes, I'll never be Dale, and I don't want to be Dale. And he goes, I hope the fans really don't expect that of me.
I bet there were moments when he was sitting there going, I'm not Dale Earnhardt, you know, even to the team, right? That were, you know, this is the way we've always done things, and this is how we've always done it. This is the way Dale wanted it, or Dale liked it. I'm sure there were moments where he was like, you know, I'm gonna need different things. I'm a different driver.
Part of me was a little sad because I knew that we'd already had this program put together for him, and he's very much his own person, and I knew more than anything that was going to be the hardest part for him to move past, is not being able to create his own identity, to being held to a standard that no one could compete with that.
You know, Dale Earnhardt was probably the best race car driver there ever is going to be in NASCAR, and nobody will ever replace him, and I think we all know that, so I would hope that you guys don't expect me to replace him, because nobody ever will.
I couldn't imagine what he would go home at night and think about after a race, being in Dale Earnhardt's car and driving it. And I just think that the emotions that he would have to carry throughout that year of 2001, with all the fans and everyone charging after him for autographs and pictures, and it was a complete change in his life all at once. And I remember sitting up there that night in the office talking to Kevin, and to put that load on a young 25-year-old man, I don't know anyone that could handle that situation, getting in a car of Dale Earnhardt's and driving it like he did.
I can't think of another driver who could have put all of the chatter and distraction and who the heck is this questioning and everything, just put that aside, go out, do the job.
Luckily, it was Kevin that was the driver that was chosen to handle that situation, because his frame of mind and his ability to bite his tongue and buckle down and just stay the course. You know, he had the fortitude and the toughness and, you know, mentally and emotionally to manage that difficult situation, where I don't know that a lot of people would have been able to do it.
You know, I think Kevin carried 2001 with a pretty even keel. I knew Kevin was strong. He was a very strong, mentally prepared person, and he could handle that, where I don't think any other 25-year-old young man would have handled it.
He was always, you know, always tough, or even come across that way. I never saw him really, never seemed to be concerned with the pressure of taking that seat. He just focused on racing, and his drive was to be a champion and a winner and lead laps, and so that was there.
And I think it was that focus that carried him through what was certainly a pivotal and maybe the most important time in his whole career.
His personality and the way he is tough mentally was a very big asset to him in that situation.
Starts off, boys. Reach sprint, pull on them belts one more time. Come to the green flag.
Feet. Here we go, guys. It's going to be a big one. Green flag. We're racing in Atlanta.
Get up off your seats. Here they go.
For 2 in a row, trying to set him up.
Gordon's going to make the big move on the inside when they get down here to turn 3. Ah, slow car. Slow car. Slow car's going to be in the way.
Just like a year ago, he's going to get him, though.
Here they come.
Get him. Gordon got loose.
It was like it was in slow motion. Everything slowed down. It was so close, and you didn't know. But I heard Kevin screaming, "Tell me if we got it. Tell me if we got it."
Tell me if we got him.
And we didn't know until the scoreboard flashed and they announced that the 29 car won the race. And then the emotion really hit us all of what was happening there.
And we all thought, and I said, you know, what could be more fitting and what could be more special than Kevin Harvick putting Richard Childress's car in victory lane and telling everybody in this sport, you know, we're all grieving, but it's going to be all right.
I'm telling you, I'm speechless.
What could be more fitting? What could be more special?
This is a win for this young man. It's the start of a great career for him, but it means so much to these people.
You know, even though didn't win the race and there was a little bit of disappointment in that, there was also a lot of excitement for the sport and what just happened, what Kevin accomplished, and especially for RCR to deliver that win was huge, because everybody was trying to figure out, how do we mourn, you know, how do we move on, how do we get to the next step in this sport without Dale Earnhardt, and that certainly took a huge leap forward. And Kevin did an amazing job, and you know, I think at that point forward we knew this guy's for real, and this guy's going to be you know, a major threat and a guy that does a lot in the sport.
Kevin winning that race at Atlanta was incredible for Kevin, because I feel like that he stepped into a race car where there's a ton of expectation, and he was filling an impossible void, one that I probably couldn't even fill. I wouldn't have wanted to be put in that situation that he was in, even with the name and everything and the connection that would have made perfect sense. I wouldn't have wanted to have to do what he did. For him to go to the racetrack and win, it added a lot of credibility to Kevin as, hey man, this guy was chosen and this is why. And boy, RCR and everybody there looks really smart, right, for making that decision. And of course, the win and the process of healing and everything that was going on with the team, all that was great. But for Kevin, you know, that just couldn't have been more perfect. He needed to prove to everybody that, you know, he could do the job. And so he goes out there and does that at a very, very fast rate. So I imagine, I don't know, but I'm kind of imagining that a lot of weight was lifted off of his shoulders in that moment, that he could finally say, you know, all right, I've shown everybody that they picked the right person for this. And shoot, I mean, he hadn't had too many races under his belt at that point outside of the Truck Series, and he looked phenomenal. He drove like a veteran that day.
I think it was shock at first, and then it was a relief of, I hope that they realize maybe you do deserve to be here, because, no one could have stepped into that position and succeeded to their own level of expectations, much less the crew, the sponsors, the fans. And the fans were the most important part, right? Because, it's not like you're replacing just anyone. You're filling in for Dale Earnhardt, and that's a heavy burden and heavy weight to carry. So I just felt like that maybe gave him a legitimacy of he does deserve to be here a little bit. And I was just proud of him.
Getting that win early was an opportunity for him to, that was a definite sign of I'm good enough to be here, and now here's my story.
Kevin wanted to, after that year, he wanted to build Kevin Harvick image, and he did. He did that. It was a time in Kevin's career to build Kevin Harvick and become Kevin Harvick. And I think that we all worked together and we won quite a few races. Kevin will go down in NASCAR history. He will go in the Hall of Fame. He's brought so much to the sport, so much action, so much activity, and his style, that's what made him a champion as well.
And so he raced his own way. He stood his ground. He was colorful. He was controversial at times.
He's a Hall of Famer. I believe that, he's won the races he's won and championships. He's one of the top. I think he's one of the top that's been in our sport.
Kevin's talent on the racetrack is one of the best that I've ever raced against. He's a guy I think he's made a huge impact on the racetrack of what he's accomplished on the track, but also off the track, and what he speaks for and what he stands up for, and the leadership throughout the garage. I think it's going to be hard to replace that leadership and that role that Kevin has in the garage area right now when he's gone.
He cares a lot about this sport. He cares a lot about the younger drivers coming up and trying to teach them just the right way to go about handling everything. Because he's made a lot of mistakes, right? He's learned from his mistakes, which I think has been a really interesting process to follow. I would hope people would think about Kevin that he loves the sport. He loves the competition. He loves just being a part of the day-to-day routine.
Kevin Harvick, forever a legacy.
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 Awesome job, guys. Awesome job. That was awesome.